about what?
Coyotes here in town.
Oh,
Yeah,
righty, and I was supposed to get that from
we
him.
got them.
Live in farmland, they exist.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village of Mount Sterling Council meeting February 10th, 2020 to order. Roll call, please.
David.
Here.
Melanie.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Becky.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Andy.
Here.
All's present.
Okay. Reverend Blankenship, would you like to lead us in prayer?
Would you all join me in the Lord's Prayer, please?
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed thy be name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to include Resolution 2020-5.
I'll give you that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who was second?
Andy.
David.
Yes.
Melanie.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Okay. You all received your minutes in your packets. At this time, I'd like for a motion to approve the following minutes.
You have that motion?
Okay, January 27th, 2020, special council meeting held on January 29th. And
David was first?
Yes.
Second.
Jay.
Roll call?
David.
Yes.
Melanie.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Becky.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Okay, if I may pass this around and capture your signatures.
All right, while she's doing that, we'll go on to mayor's report. So I'd like to talk to you about trust. Since the time we were old enough to know the meaning of the word trust, we were asked to do so. You were told you can trust your parents, your friends and family, your teachers, your clergy, your boss, politicians, well, maybe on the politicians. But history has shown this isn't always the case. Many politicians seem to have an angle. Your girlfriend will steal your boyfriend. Your boss will take your idea and say it's his, furthering his own agenda. And teachers, clergy, family, even our own parents have done the most unspeakable things to our students, our parishioners, and even our own children. So how can we trust? How can we allow ourselves to be so vulnerable? Since I've taken office 41 days now, I've heard, what are you going to do to lower my water bill? Well, when are you going to get us a grocery store? But what has been the most disheartening is the people telling me who I can trust. These are people that I trust telling me not to trust other people that I trust. And I don't know what to do. It's very sad. It's very disheartening. Mount Sterling has been subject to one of the worst examples of broken trust imaginable, and yet we must go on. On January 29th, we held a town forum to discuss our upcoming renewal of the sheriff's contract. We had hoped the community would come and ask questions and hear the sheriff Swaney. Only a handful of people attended, and only two asked to speak. Council asked questions, mostly by Becky Martin, and that was that. But we know that's not the end of it. Comments on Facebook were all over the place. Some untrue statements, some questions, and then there was the blasting of Becky Martin. It was distasteful, in my opinion, but it's not the first nor the last that a council member or the mayor or village officials will be slammed on Facebook. we're asked to suck it up and take it in. Sometimes it's not very easy to do. The upside of it is that people were talking about a subject that was important to them, and I would say that's at Becky's expense. I received calls and emails. I don't look or answer to Facebook. I'll tell you that probably every meeting that we have. I don't do it. My phone number is on the village website. My email is on the village website. I have established hours that you can come and talk to me. You can talk to me about any of my council members if you feel that they're being distasteful in any of their doings here on council during the meetings. Do it. Come, talk to me. I'm not going to answer you on Facebook. I'm not going to acknowledge more than what I am right at this moment how I feel about some of the comments on Facebook. But I will stand beside these people because I trust them. And you voted them in, so you should be trusting them. And if you don't, then you come and talk to me. You talk to them. Pick up the phone. Because we're changing the way we feel about this town. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to preach it every day that I'm up here, that we are going to change our attitudes about Mount Sterling. And that starts here, that starts there. So, you have to put your trust in us. If you don't, run for council. If you don't, run for mayor. But don't just stand back behind a computer and think that you have the answer to everything, because you don't. And from this point on, in the evening and the rest of the time, it's going to be positive around here, okay? Sometimes I have to say some things that maybe just need to be said. And that will be the end of the mayor's comments for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, President Pro Tem report. Becky Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Marcy. I appreciate your kind words. I do want everyone to know I've lived in this community 40 years. I have nothing but the best interest at heart for the community. I have no personal gain in anything. If it's not about helping the community, I would not be involved in this. So, you know, with that said, as Marcy spoke, we invited the public because we were hoping to hear comments, both sides, down the middle, everything, just and if we did not question a 4-year, $1 million contract, what kind of council people would we be? So, as Marcy said, I hope that Facebook can reel themselves in. What you say about me, I have broad shoulders, but what you're saying about your fellow neighbors, not, and it's a very limited few, but when you're telling your neighbors to go back to their double wide and fry some food and comments like that, that's not who we are. That's absolutely not who we are. Everyone has a right to their opinion, and every opinion is valuable. I had a gentleman call me, and I believe every council member did here, and he was very well-spoken, very polite, very articulate in the fact he wanted to keep a sheriff as is, with the full raise and everything. And that's wonderful. We had a great conversation, and that's all we expected when we opened up that meeting. That's all we expected is people's opinions. We don't have any mental midgets sitting on council. We don't have, you know, all the name calling out there. There's no crooks up here. We just wanted your opinion because we thought it's an important subject. So I ask that you all really consider your words before you let them come out. And we're all friends and we're all neighbors, and I hope we all have the best for this community at heart of anything we would do and any decision we would make. And that's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, we have public comments. Mr. Hunter is asked to speak in regards to a campaign for a Madison County Commissioner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the gallery sitting back here. I'm David Hunter. I'm your seated commissioner right now, one of 3, and I'm running for re-election this year. And I'd really strongly like to have your support on March 17th. Just to give yourselves a little background on me, I grew up around this community. If you look at my address, it says London, Ohio. I live 7 miles out of town. I've been in this community. I went to school in this community. I played ball in this community. I was a member of your fire department for 4 years when I worked. My first job out of high school was down here at Versa Ferguson. And then I took a job with Honda, and I had to give that up, unfortunately. But I want to let you guys know I supported this community. I've always supported this community. I risked my life for this community back in the day, just like Jack risks his every day, and the fire department and the squad do the same thing. And I hope everybody appreciates that, what they do. I've lived out in Caiusville where the buffalo roamed back in the day, which is actually what put us on the map. I've lived out there my entire life. My dad was a state highway patrolman. My mom worked for BCI. And then I went to Honda, and I worked up there 27 years before I took my retirement. And now I'm your county commissioner, and that's what I do every day. I worry about Mount Sterling. I worry about South Solon. I worry about Plain City. I worry about London. I worry about West Jeff. I worry about Sedalia. But I think right now, looking in here, listening to the mayor talk and listening to Becky talk, and I've just got one thing to say to you guys. You're not going to be able to please everybody. And there's times that you're not going to agree with what everybody wants you to do. But you've been put in this position to vote the way you think and what you think is best for the community. And you don't ever turn your back on that, okay? Just because you think that you can't please everybody, and just because you think the majority wants this, but you know it's not right, you got to vote what's right. So don't be afraid of that. You guys wouldn't be up here if they didn't trust you. I honestly believe that, Madam Mayor. I believe they trust all of you. And I think with you guys being up here, I'm seeing good things starting to come. I still trying to get a dog park. I still want to get some activities out at the park. Bring some antique tractors or something in, something to get people to come to the community. My biggest thing is the more people we can get down here, the better off we're going to be. I make phone calls. I've got 2 phone calls in right now on a tractor company that I've been chasing for about 3 years now since I got in office, trying to get them to come to Mount Sterling. Not to take away from the Greens, it's a completely different outfit. They don't sell big industrial tractors for farm use. They have little mid-sized tractors and mowers. I think that would be great down here in this community. That would bring people into town. I'd love to see you guys get a McDonald's down here or out at the freeway or anywhere. And I'm not big on McDonald's. I'm just saying that is a popular thing. They serve breakfast. I think it would be a good thing between here, Grove City, and Washington Courthouse if they got someplace to stop. But we can't get everybody to stop at Ben and Joy's, and we can't get them to stop at Larry's and all the other places because everybody's in a hurry now. So we need to try to find things to come to this community that's quick for them. And that's what I've been trying to do is make phone calls and try to get people to come down here for you guys. But like I said, I hope I can get your support on March 17th. I really think Mount Sterling has turned the corner. You guys went through a bad time that wasn't anybody in this room's fault. But everything is looking up now. And that's what I want to see go, and I want to be able to work with you guys on that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mike Stage wants to talk to us about coyotes in town.
I'm not running around town at nights, and there's so many coyotes out here you wouldn't believe. There's a bunch of them down by the fence factory, and there's about 12 of them down here behind the plastics. And where they're going, they're killing the dogs, cats. One of these days, some kid's going to be out there at night or whatever, it's going to attack them and kill them because they're lousy. And I see a lot of them out riding around. And since lately, I've seen the sheriff department out there too. They're doing a real great job right now. We just hope we keep it up like that. It's doing great.
Very good.
Because I love this whole town. I was born and raised. Dave and I was raised up. We was up here when a lot of stuff was here in town. We want to try to get it back like that. Because I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike brought up about the coyotes. What brought the coyotes back, Mike, was the deer herds. Everybody calls me the Daniel Boone of the neighborhood, but when these deer herds came back, the coyote followed them, and now they got easy eating here they know in town, and I seen them in my backyard even. But like I said, it's an interesting subject.
Thank you. We have no executive session at this time. We'll go to department reports. Sheriff report.
Okay, since the last meeting, the 27th, there's been 93 total incidents in Mount Sterling, and that's what, 13 days? 89 of those are sheriff's department calls. We've had 4 animal complaints, none about coyotes, though. There's been 2 assaults, 2 assists another agency. I believe you were in on one of those with the Highway Patrol. So you kind of get an idea if the Highway Patrol calls us, we have to go because it's a pretty important call. And yours was a very important call. There's been 2 domestics since the 27th, 2 juvenile complaints. We've made 16 traffic stops, and there's been 1 vehicle crash with injuries. So we've been pretty busy.
So if people do see coyotes, are they supposed to call you, or do they call animal control, or who do we?
Well, there's ODNR, probably be our best bet. We can't shoot them. We can't do nothing with them. Wouldn't you agree, Brad? ODNR? Right. Humane Society can't do anything with them. Unfortunately, it's like a possum, skunk, raccoon. I mean, we can't do nothing with them.
Hey, Jack, I'd like to make one compliment. There was a deputy Saturday in the pouring rain and snow. The train gates were down. He stood out in that pouring rain and snow for 2 hours directing traffic.
We have to.
Yeah, and I got giving as dedication. I walked down and talked to him. He said, just part of my job, but that's the dedication you gentlemen's been doing.
Yeah,
Even that pouring rain, he was doing what he had to do.
We don't have a choice. That's one thing we have to do. Same with the stop sign down. We have to stay there until it's put back up.
But that's dedicated. Appreciate that, Jack.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Law Director's report. At this time, we are still in the process of looking for our village solicitor. We have had a few interviews, and we will hopefully have more information for you at the next meeting. Misty, leave? Okay. I guess we will just pass over utilities. Yep, go to fiscal officer.
Okay, let's see what I have to report. Okay, so, just as a reminder, I don't want to take too much time, but as a reminder, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we will have the commission committee here. That means the treasurer of office will be here, the county auditor, Ms. Hunter. We also have members of the local government services and other state auditors that will be here at 10 o'clock. Again, open to the public, is on live YouTube if you missed that. And hopefully we have some good news, so we're looking forward to that. If you guys want to pull out your reader reports, looks like as of February the 3rd, there was a total of $45,553.25 for the first part of February. Any questions on that? Okay, the next report is the revenue status. As of the general fund, we are showing 5%, but again, we've just started the year, so all of our percentages are very low. Hopefully by the next quarter, which will be after March, we can start seeing where we're supposed to be at. But as far as revenues, we're spot on at 5.84%. Again, for the water department is at almost 8% of revenues accepted, and sewer is about 8.3% accepted. Again, these reports will go to the committee, they already have them, and there's been no questions thus far in regards to the revenues or expenditures that have been expended thus far. The payment listing, again, you guys are looking at the month of January. So your payment listing here, there's nothing that's out of the ordinary. We did have a few refunds here for residents that have moved out that were under the old policy of the $150 water deposit that we used to have that was refundable. Now, we do not have the $50, it's $50, which is non-refundable. So these were a few that we had here as residents that have either bought houses, they've moved from the apartments and purchased homes within the community, which is good. As far as what's on here, there's nothing that's out of the ordinary that we've been paying. You guys will start seeing Medical Mutual in our insurance because we did switch insurance at the beginning of the year. So there might be some new names on here as far as new vendor names than what we're used to seeing. Is there any questions on that? Okay. The next one is the receipt listing. Again, for the Bureau of Workmen's Comp, I did, like I did last meeting, started to go back on old payments that were paid, years prior to when I, took over the position, and was able to find a $150 credit. So as I start to have time to go back and sort of, do an audit on those, I'm trying to make a goal of looking at those past invoices a little bit at a time so that we can at least see some sort of, items that were paid, incorrectly. So I'm hoping to get some big ones on there, but so far, it's not been too bad. Okay, any questions on the receipt listing? Okay, so the next one is comparison, budget and appropriated. And again, we don't really have anything to compare it to because we're not even a month and a half into, the year. So again, this is, you really can't compare this because there's, we're only 5% into it. So if you guys have any questions on that comparison and appropriated. And then we'll go through to the next one. So the general fund, as well as the water and the sewer. If you guys can notice in here, the general fund is at 572, 293.94, which is good. And hopefully that's good news for tomorrow. Okay, and onto the appropriation status. If we look at the general fund, again, appropriation status is monies that have been expended, which means that these were monies that have been paid out for invoices. We only show that we've spent out only 2% of our budget for the general fund. So if you guys see anything on here that seems a bit expended here, there's nothing. Everything seems to be pretty self-explanatory. Okay, and then on the water fund, we're showing a percentage of expending of 2.2%, which is good. And as well as sewer is 2.5%. Okay, is there any questions on the financial reports?
Well, running a good even kill, as I always use my old Navy term, and I think, Courtney, and under your good watch and everything, we're doing a really great job with the money.
Great.
Appreciate your work with it, too.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so on to the bank reconciliation. I showed that I balanced this as of February the 7th. If you guys do notice, once I pass this around, we did remove there was a outstanding balance that was kind of carried over from previous audits. The state had allowed me to remove that. These other ones, which is a $4,000 outstanding, were checks that had never been cashed. So I will be coming to the Finance Committee probably within the next couple weeks to ask about opening an unclaimed fund account, which means that if there are checks that have been issued and they're years prior, it's just like any resident that has paid over on an invoice, it goes to an unclaimed fund account. So it stays in there for 5 years, and then basically those monies that have been unclaimed get to go back to the general fund. So this will be hanging out here for a while until you guys receive legislation. Once I talk to the Finance Committee about setting that account up, it will no longer be on this bank reconciliation, okay? But again, everything's been balanced to the penny, no more, no less. Everything has been accounted for and reconciled. So I will be passing this around once Mayor Darlington allows me to ask
Sure.
for a motion.
So we're going to ask for a motion to approve the financial reports as,
Appropriation status, the revenue status, the receipt listing, the payment listing, comparison of budget and appropriated, the cash summary by fund, the reader report, and the bank reconciliation for January of 2020.
can I have that?
Get that motion.
Second?
I second.
Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
While she passes that around, we'll go to committee reports. Finance, David.
And on finance, we will be holding a work session on February 12th. I believe, Courtney, 3:30?
Yes, 3:30.
3:30, and we'll be discussing some of the, on the AEP and discussing that and basically getting all thoughts together, what we want to do. And also, I was telling Courtney today, we're going on a good even keel right now. And I like what Mr. Hunter said. We are going on a straight course now, and we no longer feel like we're on a magical mystery tour anymore. We've got a great group here, and excuse my phrase, always got to get a Beatle kite in, but we got to get this in there, and when, just like our mayor said, we're working hard for every dollar, we're watching every dollar, and I just want to make that comment. Thank you, Mayor.
Can I add one more thing? The sheriff's contract will be discussed on that.
Okay,
too.
okay, thanks, Gordon.
One additional comment.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor. We are also in the process, as part of this, of trying to make sure that every resident has an understanding about where every dollar goes to. And so we're open to suggestions as to the best ways of communicating that to folks, whether that's a big sign out front on the lawn, or whether that's putting it up on our website, or whatever it makes sense to do as it relates to communication about where that budget dollar, every single budget dollar goes to. And so expect that to be a discussion point at the finance work session as well, if not going forward.
We did discuss in one of our meetings the possibility of a newsletter.
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody's going to be talking about that, but that might be a potential.
Every budget line item is available at the Ohio checkbook at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that said, some folks aren't, amenable to the computer, so why not make that available, that information available any way we can, just by wandering into the front lobby and have it out there. So we're looking at ways to do that, and if anyone has an idea as to how to make these things more transparent, we should do it. Come on up, we'll be happy to explore it and figure out what we can do on it.
Andrew brought some good points. Don't be afraid to come and voice your opinion. Like I said, that's what we're here for, voice your opinions. We want to hear what we think on anything.
And can you elaborate on what you have here, that if people wanted to walk in, what kind of reports and how accessible they are?
Right. Yeah, so through UAN, which is the government system that I have, Uniform Accounting System, which is what most municipalities use, and that's governed by the state. At any time, I accept public record requests. And that means that if somebody wants to have a copy of a check that was written out, or they want to have a copy of an invoice, they want to have a report only for a specific time frame, that is all accessible. So again, that's, like Andy had mentioned, and like, Becky, she was involved in this as well, but the Ohio checkbook actually holds copies of those checks. So it's all accessible, years prior to. So you can actually see a copy of a check that somebody signed, like Marcy and I do. You can see a copy of an invoice, you can see what those bank account numbers were. And again, I accept any public records requests that, for any of that anybody wishes to see.
Thank you. Pleasant Township, Melanie.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Squad, Jay?
All right, so again, I kind of talked about this last time, is that they do have a midway station. If it's not in, it's either being finished or they have it. So that way they have easier access to our communities that are farther out, because our squad does cover quite a bit of land. And so sometimes getting out to certain places, the person could be DOA just because of time. And so this is a solution they have for them. And so with that station, they are actually in the process of hiring, or they are taking applications of hiring 2 EMTs or medics. So if you know someone who is in that field and would like to pursue it, this is a great team to be a part of. Chief Taylor has a wonderful team, and if they have questions or want to join, they need to seek Chief Taylor out. and he'd be glad to meet up with them. Also, we have a meeting coming up. See, today is the 10th, so we have a meeting here in a couple of days, Wednesday, February 12th, 8 p.m. The squad is kind of getting together so they kind of just update what's going on. They did have a new director, I'm sorry if I have the wrong term, new head guy. And so this is kind of the first time getting to kind of meet him and kind of hear what's going on. So we anticipate it being a very late night, because we'll be covering a lot of topics and some things coming up. So we'll have a much in-depth report for next meeting for sure. But again, just want to reiterate, an opportunity to work here in the village. If you're an EMT or medic, see Chief Taylor. We want to get you involved.
Very good. Fire, Craig.
We had our first meeting Saturday morning. There was a scheduling issue, so we had to have it Saturday morning. They approved the minutes, they paid the bills. The old business, they talked about paying the insurance. In new business, they received a grant for a mark system. The way I understood it, it was to help them connect with the towers. But they got a $1,068 grant, pays half the grant for them. They also had to have some work done on their engine 492, and they hired a new fireman. And they also purchased 2 beds, because I guess they're going to have over the weekend, they're going to have a fireman stay in. And then they adjourned the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Water, wastewater, also Craig.
Oh, we were scheduled to have a meeting this coming Wednesday, but because of conflict, we will be moving it till next Wednesday, the 19th. And that will only be this month. It will revert back to the second Wednesday of all the other months, until another conflict.
So at 4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock, thank you.
Street, Andy.
We had a great meeting on February 5th, fully attended by everybody, though I understand there was some agribusiness that Dave had to attend to before that, delivering a few lambs in advance of the meetings. He didn't bring them in, but, whatever. I'm very pleased to report that Phase 1 of our street sign replacement program is now complete. Most of those were stop signs. We're talking about a lot of stop signs that haven't been replaced in maybe 30, 40 years. So we're tackling those. We got those actually ordered last year. That phase is now complete. Phase 2 will be a mix of old and new. So where there are missing signs today or signs that should be, we're getting those taken care of, as well as refurbishing, again, more stop signs or street signs where there's snow routes and children at play, that sort of thing. We've also heard quite a bit about, in the Streets Committee, about truck traffic and the crossing of truck traffic through residential neighborhoods. That's been a continual issue which people have brought up, as is speeding. I think we've mentioned that to the sheriff actually as well, and just want to keep that on the radar, so to speak. We're in the process of fixing a very large number of potholes, and due to the weather, we got, about 10 days ago, we got a 60-degree day, and our streets team went out and started patching potholes. So I feel pretty good about that one. We are entertaining bids on, or at least getting additional information on the costs associated with fixing street Wingate, where there is a road separation issue. It's starting to crop up. We need to get on top of that before it gets really bad. Let's see. We, as a committee, finished review and approval to be sent to council of legislation on painting on the roads. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Okay, I like that. I know that's been pending, but it will come to this next council meeting, so that's in a couple of weeks here. We've had a couple of requests to review through traffic and how traffic flow is currently working. There apparently are a couple places here in town where you can't see around kind of blind corners, and do we need to look at how parking is set up? All of that is on deck, particularly as we head into the spring, because we're getting, at some point, warmer weather where we can do stuff. And then finally, I'm asking for resident input around where we should patch. We have a very long list of places to patch here in town. I'm walking around, Dave's walking around, everybody on the council is walking around, driving around, and our streets team is driving around, walking around, patching. but we're not covering everything. And so if there are particularly bad areas, we, like, of course, know about areas like on 56. If there are particularly bad areas, we're going to try really hard to get on top of them, even if it's a temporary fix, just to make sure that the winter doesn't make it worse. So if people would please, please, please let me know of ugly spots. No one likes potholes, I get it, but we should at least try to tackle them and get them done. That's my report for this time.
Parks and Recreation, Becky.
Yes, we just had a really exciting meeting as well. Some of the things that we did do at the Park and Recs, we set our year calendar, and we're going to talk a little more at our next meeting about our next 2-year plan and even a 5-year out plan. But what I can tell you is going to happen this year, we're going to have 4 movie nights. We're going to increase it by 1. Last year we had 3, and each time they got more and more successful, and that was really exciting. We had over 100 at our last one, so we're hoping that those just continue to grow. Our first one being May the 30th. I know that's a ways off, and we will get a list of all those out, but the one on May the 30th, we're going to combine with bike safety, and hopefully we'll have some free giveaways that night of some bike equipment and maybe even a bike, you never know, so that's exciting. We also talked about we're going to be, the mayor and the Park and Rec director is going to be working on a grant for a fishing kind of grant. So we're going to be also getting some free fishing equipment, we expect, and that will be distributed amongst the children of the community, and that'll, again, be tied in with a movie night. So we're excited about that, and we're just trying to plan more and more. Last year, we had our first, hopefully, annual Special Olympics softball tournament, and we are expecting that to come back this summer. And then we've also set, in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce, the Summer Jam dates. So the Summer Jam dates this year are June 18th through the 20th again. If you remember last year, it was on the streets here. We planned the same format with rides and entertainment and games and food, and we just expect it to get bigger and bigger. So those are some of the things that we talked about at Parks and Rec. And our next Park and Rec meeting is, on March the 4th, the first Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And everyone's welcome to attend. With that said, I do want to mention, because they're completely out at the parks, the Youth League is having signups right now for t-ball, baseball, and softball. You can do that online with the Mount Sterling Youth League. Also at parent-teacher conferences tonight and Wednesday night, I know they're doing physical signups, and they're also going to come to our community center soon to get those signups done. But the kids will be out at those parks by April practicing. So we do really need to get on cleaning up our parks a little and getting the fields ready. So that's coming up soon, and that's always a great time of the year when the parks are full of children.
Do you know if they're still looking for coaches for those teams?
In my past experience, they're always looking for coaches. So if anyone wants to volunteer, they welcome volunteerism. And if you've never coached t-ball, softball, baseball, it's okay. The first year my husband coached soccer, he had to rent a video because we didn't even know how many players were on a field, but they needed help. So, it's all about the kids. So, yeah. Coaches, it's really important.
Okay, thank you. Record of retention, Andy.
We've had no requests. We still have the plan of reviewing the current contents of the Village Hall here for existing paper records, as figure out what we're going to do with them, make them more available. And then, of course, our meeting will be in June.
Very good. Nuisance and abatement, Becky?
Well, that's me again. As you touched on, Mayor, the Nuisance and Abatement Committee decided just to go ahead and take it upon themselves. We are going to try to put together a community newsletter. Obviously, it'll have a lot of nuisance information on there, not just nuisance, that sounds bad, but information about like the most beautiful yard and how to clean up your own yard, some tips, maybe gardening tips even on there, but there'll also be a lot of information about all the activities going on in town. There'll be important phone numbers to the mayor's office and the fiscal officer and the water office, things like that. So I know Jay is, we're going to all input stuff to him. He's kind of a tech guru. So we're going to put it in his capable hands of getting us started. But that newsletter, the first time we're trying to figure out how to distribute it, but what we want to happen is for it to be in a few different locations around town, so you can just pick it up, probably at the water window and at the community center and a couple other busy locations throughout town. But that will probably just be something we do quarterly, and we encourage all businesses, churches, organizations to contact us with your events, and we'll run them up the flagpole, see if they kind of are appropriate, and if they are, we'll put them in our newsletter, and hopefully we'll get everybody informed about all the fun stuff going on. Also at our nuisance, we had interviewed the day before our meeting for code enforcement officer. It's a position that will work 10 hours a week trying to enforce some of our codes here in town. And that kind of is pending also hiring of the solicitor, because we do need them to work hand in hand with the village solicitor on some of that stuff. So we're hoping to get that person in place by the beginning of March. And another important thing that we talked about was community cleanup days coming up in April. Still not sure if we have the date. I know the Nazarene Church spearheaded those a few years back, and they've continued. We're hoping that all the other community churches will join in. We're hoping that the township trustees, the commissioners are welcome to join in, village workers. We hope everyone will get together that weekend. And it's never too early. If you're out there and you're struggling, you're having a hard time, you need some work in your yard, a fence, a tree cut down, some rocks moved, please call and we'll get you on a list now, and then we can get our projects planned for April. And it's a day to get rid of all that junk on your porches, a weekend. We'll haul it up to the dump at no cost. So please, please, please reach out and ask for help. And that's pretty much all I had on that. And then our next meeting is March the 4th. Nope, I lied. We decided to have an additional meeting next week on the 19th, just because we have so many projects underway. So we wanted to meet again to try to get those things. So 3 o'clock on the 19th.
Very good. Blockwatch, David?
Yeah, first I want to mention what Becky said about the Nazarene Church of the Naz. We got notice, the old couch collectors, we gathered up 34 couches last year, but we got them off people's porches. But on Blockwatch, I will be calling a meeting probably in March, and get all organized for springtime and what to watch out for. And I got another report. There's this one here is a good one. The IRS, there's these fake calls. The Internal Revenue will not call you up. They said they found something on one of your tax results from a couple years ago. We need your Social Security number and your check number to find out about this. Take the doggone receiver, either make a noise in it and slam it, or make sure, but do not give them no information. If the IRS is going to contact you, they will send you a personal letter. And I just want all the citizens to know that. And Blockwatch will be all getting organized for the spring, and I can't wait to get started. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. So all of our committees here that we are in charge of, people are welcome to attend, as well as, I believe, the squad, township, and fire, they are open to the public as well. So I encourage you to go to these meetings if you, it's kind of eye-opening. I mean, especially when you talk about the amount of people that serve such a vast population. It's kind of amazing all the hats that they have to wear, as do all of our village employees here. We had a staff meeting just last week, and I tried to express to them the importance of their jobs and, you know, working with each other, because we may have somewhere between 1,700 and 1,800 residents in this town, But that's not all that we serve. We serve the people that are coming through town and the people that are business owners and may not live in town. And so we have a very small staff to handle all of that. Sometimes you're going to have to be patient with us to answer the phone or get right back to you, but we all have our best intentions, and anyway. On to ordinances and resolutions. I need a motion to suspend the rules for Resolution 2020-04, which is a resolution authorizing Marcy Darlington, mayor, or her designee to enter into an agreement with Rumpke Waste Services for the village's solid waste collection and disposal and declaring an emergency.
I'll give you that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to place it on the first, second, and third readings.
You have that motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Andy, was that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't.
No, it's okay.
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-04.
Got it?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Resolution 2020-04 is passed.
Resolution 2020-05 is a resolution authorizing Marcy Darlington, mayor, or her designee to enter into an agreement with the Village of West Jefferson for building, planning, and zoning permits and declaring an emergency. Andy, would you like to address this resolution?
This is a very good one, absolutely. So the village has been basically without a building and a zoning inspector now for about 60 days. The folks in Fayette County who we normally contracted with and have renewed several times since about 2013 have decided to restructure their department, and they had two key staff members who retired, we were reliant on. So we decided that it would be a good time to take a review of how we were handling this, and we went ahead and worked to entertain a couple of different ways we could get this thing done. One of the most sensible ones was to entertain the building and zoning inspector from the Village of West Jefferson, who covers darn near most of Madison County at this point. So it's a shared service. We're not paying separately for it. In fact, as it is today, there's not a dime that leaves the budget to get this thing done. We get the benefit of having a very prompt turnaround as it goes on building and zoning issues, and expertise, frankly, of a 9 or 10 person staff that we could never afford to hire ourselves. So this is a contract which is pretty straightforward. We can get out of it at any time, and if we decide at some point in the future we want to go ahead and get our own building and zoning department back, just so we're clear, in no way, shape, or form is any of the authority around zoning or the decisions around what constitutes the building code being sent to West Jefferson. This is just the inspection process. I want to be really super clear about that. The Board of Zoning Appeals and the Building Commission is still meeting, and they had a great meeting here. I was going to address this in roundtable, so I'll table that for just a moment. And the building inspector was kind enough to come to that meeting. It was a great discussion about, especially since we're getting new construction here in Mount Sterling, and potentially a couple new subdivisions. So that authority stays in Mount Sterling. So that does not leave the village. It's staying here. It's just the inspection process which is leaving. And that would be my comments about that.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes.
And Andy, can I just add
Yeah.
a few things?
Please.
So a little bit different than what we've experienced in the past, because Fayette County, we would just give you a phone number and call down there. He's actually going to be here.
That's
So-
a very good point.
Right, so.
Much more presence in the village.
Right, so if there's a person that has a question that says, hey, I don't know how to do my drawing, does my drawing look okay? Or I have a question about when I put a pool in, or I have a question about putting an addition onto my house. So he's actually gonna be stationed here too, with those questions. So he'll have designated times and dates of when he'll be here, so that you can talk to him face to face. So that's a change, but again, no additional service, there's no, cost involved in this. They're just helping support, and this is kind of what counties are going to. so that you don't have an administrator on staff or paying on staff for when you don't need to use them, so.
I think that if we were a village of about 5,000 people, we probably could support our own building and zoning. But in this case, since it doesn't cost the budget anything to do it and it replaces a critical service, it really does make sense to share the county model.
At this time, I'll ask for a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll give you that motion.
I'll second.
Becky or Melanie?
I'll second.
Stereo.
Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to place it on the first, second, and third readings.
I'll give you that motion.
Second?
Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Now I need a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-05.
You have that motion?
Second?
I'll
Second.
Yes. Roll call?
David?
Yes.
Melanie?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
2020-05 has passed.
Very good. That brings us to roundtable. Who would like to speak?
I have something. Just want to let everyone know Valentine's Day is Friday, of course. Everyone remember that when you go shopping this week. But a few things that are going on in town, and I think that's important to support our local businesses and things. The bank is having a bake sale at Chase and North Valley, I believe that's the new name of the bank, at 9:30 at both banks. And it's kind of a little competition to see who sells out first, I think. But all the money, I believe, goes to the community center, so it's a really good cause and lots of yummy baked goods. So encourage you to go out there Friday morning. And then I know Ben and Joy's right here. It's the first time they've done it that I know about. They're doing a prime rib dinner, and it begins at 2 o'clock all the way until they run out, so that's exciting. I love prime rib. And then the last thing that evening, we could just make a whole day of this. 9:30, bake sale, go to Ben and Joy's. American Legion, there's a dance, the band Dallas is playing that night. It's from 8 p.m. till midnight. And I guess it works off the wristband system. You do not have to be a member to go. I believe it's $2 to buy your wristband, and then you can buy drinks with that and dance and have a good evening with your sweetheart. So that's all I have.
Anyone else? You want to?
Yeah, I just had one follow-up comment from earlier. I don't need to spend any more time. Probably people are tired of hearing me talk about the street commission, but the streets committee rather. But we are one thing I didn't get a mention in was that we're developing a longer-term plan as to how to address street condition. And there are some streets which are pretty poor at this point. And so the question of the day is, how do we deal with that when we also probably need a water tower, when we also probably need, streetlights and lots of other high infrastructure priority projects here in town. We're trying really hard to be transparent about where your budget dollars are going, what we're actually spending money on. I'll be happy to talk with any resident about the budget involved in the street committee this year, and where each and every dollar of that is probably going to come from and where it's going to go to. So give us your feedback on things like what matters to you. Do curbs and gutters matter? Does a water tower matter? Does building a swimming pool or a splash pad matter? All those are infrastructure projects that we are going to be planning over the next couple of months and put together a longer-term plan as to what to do with the infrastructure here in town. That would be my comments. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have the comment tonight. Today's the 75th anniversary of the flag raising on Suribachi. And over in our monument, there was 5 men that were actually there. One was my dad and his brother, not counting a man named Mr. Deerduff who was there. And every time you see that picture, it just so much what we're doing here today was because what them gentlemen did that day raising that flag. And I remember my father told me the story about that. He said, we saw that flag go up. Not only did we feel better, but he said the whole world felt better. They said we had a long way to go, but just wanted to bring that up today.
Very good. Anyone else?
Yeah, real quick, speaking of entertainment here in town, we do have a weekly gem here in the village, and that is the Sterling Bluegrass Jamboree. I don't know if anybody's been. It is actually I believe it's one of the most entertaining things I've ever been a part of. The house band, ran by Kenny is phenomenal, just a natural talent. And then also the bands they bring in each and every week, they're amazing. We have high talent that comes in, and the biggest thing about these guys is they have a heart of gold. They love this community. They love the people in it. Kid-friendly, so if you have kids, bring them on. They're fun. They're allowed to dance, and the best homemade pie I've ever tasted in my life. That's a great asset to check out. These usually most of the shows are on Saturdays, but get on the website, Facebook. You'll see a lot of information there. Also, I just wanted to share kind of like my experience. I had to do a ride-along with the sheriff deputy on last Monday, actually, and I want to say that was the most eye-opening. It's obviously a childhood dream of mine to ride with the cop. However, I got to see a lot of interesting things and a lot of things to understand what our deputies go through, and you are kind of blown away and humbled a little bit because some is extreme, just as Jack mentioned. At the very end of the night, very end of the shift, I mean, one of the most extreme things that could ever happened, and it really puts into perspective a lot of things, especially what we're facing and understanding what the deputies do. And I want to say, I mean, I know everybody's sharing their opinions, and we already addressed that. We care about this community. This council really does care about this community. These deputies, I kid you not, know this community in and out. They know the names of individuals, and individuals know their names. So when you see a deputy or the sheriff, please shake their hand, because these guys put themselves on the line. You think Mount Sterling, small town, what is there in this town what could be bad? When you witness a sheriff willing to walk into an empty house, an empty backyard, because they saw something that's way out of the norm, because they drive this town, they drive these streets, and they drive these alleyways day in, hour after hour, and they don't know what they're walking into. And you sit in that car watching this, and you're like, it is incredibly humbling, and I know everybody has their opinions. Again, we addressed that. And for the individuals who are, again, mouthing off on Facebook, like I said, I'll read them. We're open to it. Please come talk to us, because we can't let this go. This is serious business here, and our deputies are extremely important to this village. And those who think otherwise, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but that's what I have. Thank you.
Sure. I will say that we are discussing the sheriff's contract at the meeting on Wednesday. I have received letters, email letters, and a couple of other letters that we will be sharing at that time. If you care to write one, email one, stop in and give me your comments. I will be here all day tomorrow because of the commission meeting. So, and then Wednesday, I will be here at 1 o'clock, and our meeting is, what is it, 3:30? 3:30. So if you want to stop in and give me your comments, I will be glad to relay that to the team. Once again, I just want to say 2020 is going to be a year for positive change. I can promise you that. These people are excited about what they're doing. The committee meetings I've gone to so far have been very energizing, very exciting. It's going to be a positive year. I can't drive that home hard enough. So with that being said, it is 8 o'clock on the button, and I adjourn this meeting. Go make it a good one.
Oh, yeah, I think I bumped it earlier. Courtney did it.
Monday, yes, or last week ago. Week ago.
Two last night, one from my apartment. On the stop sign, we got one in front of our apartment. You can't even see it.
Where you at?